The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles.
Stop right there, Charles.
What?
Don't violate the US Espionage Act.
Why not? You just get off scot-free.
Even though you're not a US citizen, even though you're not in the United States,
Yeah.
and even though the US
see.
has a First Amendment which guarantees the right to free speech. So the thing is, you can publish something not in America and not be an American citizen and still be extradited, well, it turns out, to Saipan Island, of all places. Julian Assange is free, and it's a cautionary tale for people who publish naughty, edgy stuff like us.
Yes.
And I just don't want us to break any laws and do the wrong thing because, you know.
Well, I do think back to that time when George W. Bush was visiting, and in our newspaper, we published an article, How to Assassinate a President.
Yes.
But it was all done theoretically.
It was just,
hypothetically.
It was, if anything, it was a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it was sort of saying, here's what you shouldn't do.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Because actually that's one of those other things where it is illegal, despite their free speech thing. It's illegal to publish details of how to assassinate. Probably is here actually too, just thinking about it.
I'm so glad you reminded everybody that we did that. Hey, let's talk more about this. And I've got a milestone to reveal to you, Charles, in a moment.
Yeah, great.
It's a good and a bad milestone in a way because it just occurs to me that over the past, a few years that we've been doing the podcast, there's a lot of things we've said, Charles, a lot of publications we've made.
I am.
And they're now all transcribed by Apple Podcasts as text.
Yes, that is worrying.
So they're all out there,
Yes,
able to be searched by, the US Department of Justice. And Charles, today marks the 900th episode of the Chaser Report.
You're fucking kidding.
I'm not. 900 episodes of this thing. Bearing in mind the crazy period when we used to do a couple of them a day.
That's
wasn't
true.
Very keen.
Yeah.
But 900 episodes. Isn't that both admirable and yet somehow really depressing?
It's really depressing.
Yeah.
It's should we get out the party poppers?
We don't have any party poppers. Fittingly, I think.
Should we get out the
maybe for number 1,000 later in the year?
Hookers and cocaine or something?
What do you think we are, Channel 7? So, no, this is the thing. Charles, we might well have violated the Espionage Act, and we wouldn't know, but the AI would scrape it and get through. Because, Charles, America, and things are falling apart around us in the studio. America, of course, was well within its rights to prosecute a non-citizen for an act of journalism, despite their First Amendment.
But you got to realize, I'm with the US State Department on this.
Sure.
Because the thing that you got to remember is everyone goes, oh, well, hang on, he didn't even live in America. Why is he subject to US laws? But you got to think back to the impact that those leaks had. You might recall, these were the ones where they literally were showing drone footage. Part of the leak was they were showing drone footage of people who were actually operating out of Florida and treating these Afghan civilians like it was in a war game, and literally just shooting them and then making jokes about shooting them. At a cultural level, it has affected our understanding of what and how horrific drone warfare is, how asymmetrical and dehumanizing that whole thing is. It sort of actually spoilt the whole party on the US's foray into asymmetric warfare.
Absolutely.
And without those leaks, they would be happily bombing Afghan weddings to this day, right? So the sheer impact, it was a global impact, and it struck at the absolute heart of the military-industrial complex. So I sort of go, fair call.
That's what this...
if you publish something that impactful, then of course you have to expect repercussions from the greatest military cunts in the world. What I mean?
They published 500,000, WikiLeaks, published about 500,000 classified US military and diplomatic cables.
Yes.
The ABC says it included the alleged killing of civilians by US soldiers in Afghanistan and in Syria. And Charles, it makes it very hard to commit war crimes.
If you'd written an op-ed piece for the New York Times, if you'd been living in America and written some sort of op-ed piece for the New York Times about how terrible drones are, you wouldn't have had as much impact, right? The whole point about American hypocrisy and the American sort of military empire is that as long you're allowed free speech, as long as your free speech doesn't really, impact and go to the heart, actually upset the people who run the the whole joint, which is not the politicians or the judges or the judiciary or anything like that. It's the people in the Pentagon who have all the bases and have all the arms and money and ability to kill people. And, that is what WikiLeaks actually managed to do. It was like a drone attack into the heart of the Pentagon.
That the WikiLeaks was also conducting asymmetric warfare.
It was sort
information warfare.
Yes, exactly. And it was as bad as killing a whole lot of civilians. Admittedly, it was killing the ability for people to kill civilians. But, like what I mean?
Well, the judge did say in the court today in Saipan, quite surprisingly, that there'd been no negative actions as a result of the publication. Like, they couldn't point to anyone and say, oh, those spies were outed, those people were killed, these US troops were.
That's obviously because it's classified information.
Or because they had to stop.
But there was huge damage. There was damage to the US's reputation as a fine, upstanding global citizen.
Well, it reminds me, Charles.
And George W. Bush's war strategy.
It reminds me of that photo of the napalm girl. Do you remember the napalm girl in the Vietnam War?
Yes.
One of the most famous images ever taken of a young naked girl running away from the napalm on the battlefield. Her skin burning. That's why she had her clothes off, because her clothes were doused in this stuff. And the American public saw that image and were horrified at what was being done.
And I hope
in their name.
I hope that photographer was done for espionage.
Well, presumably.
Yes.
But Charles, they're an American citizen, so they get the First Amendment.
Oh, okay.
See, if Julian Assange had been in America, he could have argued just because he was from an allied nation that's gone along in all their wars, he didn't get freedom of speech. That's the thing. We don't have a First Amendment.
He gets an e-visa.
He
can go and work for the US, but
I'm sure he can't. But he falls between the cracks of, a trusted ally, but without getting... So just imagine, Charles, the thought experiment, if that photo hadn't been published, America would probably still be in Vietnam to this day.
Yes.
They would have killed a lot more people in Vietnam.
Yes, it would have been so much more... Yeah, and they would have won. They would have won the Vietnam War.
The communists would never have seized Vietnam because they would all be dead. They would have all been killed.
The thing that, really made the US be defeated in Vietnam was the doubt, the seeds of doubt.
And the truth.
Yes.
You should never have the truth.
Exactly.
You don't want the truth in a war.
No. As Jack Nicholson so rightly said. But look, I think we've buried the lead a bit on this story. And I think the Australian media has buried the lead.
Really?
I really think that they've missed the whole...
Sorry, has someone buried Julian Assange in the... Like, has the private plane been hit by some sort of US drone?
I wouldn't be stepping outside with the face print of that.
He's going to Canberra. Well, I think it's going to be some robot magpies swooping him pretty soon.
Yeah. No, the true lead for this story is that there exists a country called Saipan, just to the north of Australia. I've never heard of Saipan.
Never heard of Saipan?
No. Have you?
I don't think it's a country. I think it's just a US protectorate.
It's got
a US federal court there.
Who knew that Saipan exists, that it's got a federal court there, and that it's like on our doorstep, in our time zone?
They can't be busy, can they, the US federal court?
Well, who knows?
So it's in the Northern Mariana Islands, which has Saipan only has 43,000 people in it, and they've been US citizens since the 1980s. And Assange's whole thing as part of the plea deal, as I understand, was that he had to go into a US court. You can't have a plea deal in absentia on video link. You can't zoom in to a courtroom and do a plea deal, but he absolutely refused to set foot on the US mainland.
Yes.
So they had to find a court that was far enough away
Yes.
to be willing to go there. So as a result, he's had to pay a fortune in private plane fees.
Yes.
I think $78,000 or something like that to charter a plane.
780,000.
So $780,000.
Yeah, 780.
There you go.
But what I don't understand is why didn't there was a perfectly usable facility, much more conveniently located, Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo Bay. That's right. That's what I was thinking as well. Couldn't he have just walked into any US bar? I mean, the notion that the US power stops at the border is hilarious. He could have walked into...
Well, as his conviction
has proved.
He should have just stayed where he was and the US would have come to him.
Any military base in any country, basically. The US, we forget just how extensive they're... He could have come back to Australia.
Well, there's 900 US military bases across the world.
He could have gone to Pine Gap, Charles. He could have gone to Darwin. He could have gone anywhere.
But I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like stepping onto a military base, which is essentially controlled by the US military might not have been the best ideal in, circumstances in terms of, like his whole.
What?
Like, do you
not
remember
wanting to get killed thing? Yeah.
The whole sort of. Do you remember what was the one with all the photos out of Iraq where they tortured all those? What was the name of that?
Abu Ghraib.
Abu Ghraib. Yeah.
But Charles,
they would have Abu Ghraibed him.
But Charles, the US has habeas corpus. They would never torture foreign detainees, except at black sites or at Guantanamo Bay. If he went to...
But how did he know that Saipan, or whatever it's called, doesn't have black sites?
It probably does.
Like nobody... I'm going to go for a holiday to Saipan.
Yeah. I'd love to see your rendition, actually. But this is the extraordinary thing. So the saga is over for now, right?
Yep.
In a moment, what does Julian Assange do now?
The Chaser Report. More news, less often.
We were throwing this around internally earlier today, and there were a few suggestions.
Yeah.
Because what does he do? I mean, was WikiLeaks really a job? Was he making money running? Like, how does he live?
Yeah, well,
Assange.
Don't they? I mean, do they
get donations?
WikiLeaks, yeah, I think they get donations. And there's a lot of powerful, rich people who
I don't know why he
him.
would have published those leaks that he got when he could have sold them to the Russians for lots of money. He would have funded the site for a very long time.
Done a Snowden.
Seems like a mistake.
Yeah.
He could be in Russia right now in a peaceful democracy with stable elections.
I feel like there's jobs for... I mean, if ScoMo can get a job, then anyone can get a job.
Actually, he could help with AUKUS, do you think? So he could advise on AUKUS.
They're the only jobs going at the moment in Australia.
Some sort of AUKUS consulting.
That, or he could go into the property market. There's always more need for... You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's the right age to own property, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So...
Is the Ecuadorian embassy hiring? Is it?
I think that they might have increased their security detail.
Bridges are a bit burnt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's been suggested he might be interested in the Media Watch job, Charles.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes, that's what should happen. He should run Media Watch. Do you think that's the reason he did the plea deal now? Yes.
To do that. Oh, I thought he was going to take over Late Night Live. I was disappointed that it's David Marr.
He's not old enough.
Not old enough, that's true. But no, I mean, Julian Assange, the great thing would be, I mean, imagine if not only, Paul Barry's gotten stuck into the stuff that was published publicly.
Yes.
What if Assange could sort of get into the internal networks of 9 and 7? Imagine if someone hacked into Channel 7's computer.
Oh, my God.
I wouldn't want to encourage that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But imagine what you'd find.
My God, that would be like Media Watch would suddenly become a 7-hour program.
It would be
each night.
Very, very, very long. Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. I like that. So Media Watch. I mean, the other option for him is he's all about telling truth to the man.
Yes.
Yeah, and thumbing his nose at authority.
Oh, you're going to hire him for the shot, are you?
Well, no, I'm just thinking he should get a job on Sky News.
Oh,
like. The Outsiders. You know those.
Oh, he could be one of the Outsiders.
Yeah. I think he'd do really well.
As someone who actually had genuinely experienced social isolation.
Yeah.
I think a television talk show. I mean, I'd watch an Assange talk
tonight.
show.
Do you reckon?
Assange tonight.
Have you obviously never read the Andrew O'Hagan piece about him? So Andrew O'Hagan, he's this essayist in London, and he got given the job. He was hired to become Julian Assange's ghostwriter.
Oh, really?
This is about 15 years ago, and he was following him around. It was when he was hanging out in London before he entered the Ecuadorian embassy. The funny thing is that as a ghostwriter, you're not allowed to write an exposal essay on the person that you've written.
I imagine that's part of the rules.
Yeah, right.
But then again, if you were going to break those sorts of conventions, Julian Assange would be the guy to do it on.
And because exactly, like because this guy
because you shouldn't have published that is not an argument that Assange can rebut.
This guy was embedded with Julian Assange and got so annoyed at Julian Assange's just dickheaded narcissism, right, that he then writes this lengthy, 18,000 word justification for why he was going to breach all his media ethics and publish a tell-all about what a fucking dickhead Julian Assange is. So I think there's a whole, and I think I can say that without fear of retribution because Julian Assange believes in absolute free speech. But I think that Yeah, I think we're going to be surprised. Like, here's my hot take, is that Julian Assange is going to become a feature of the Australian media landscape, and he's going to be an enormous bore. And I totally believe in his freedom and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that after the afterglow of defeating the US empire sort of fades, we're going to discover that, he's getting on speaking bills with Tucker Carlson.
Do you seriously think that as a middle-aged white man, Julian Assange can find a role in the Australian media? You really think that he might have a chance?
Mate, he's the next Koshy. He's the
Sunrise.
next Koshy. Sunrise. That's perfect for him.
It'd be a bit more interesting than Servo, surely.
Yeah, exactly. They need a reboot.
Well, I was thinking, what a coup it would be, in all seriousness. I don't want to trivialise what he's been through. I'm sure it's been awful.
Yeah.
But if I was casting I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, that would be... he'd really want to get out of there.
Yeah, he'd be very good at that as well.
He'd outlast them all.
He'd win.
He could win alone.
Yeah.
The guy's resilience. I'm amazed he's still alive, to be honest.
And he's good. He'd be good on The Masked Singer, wouldn't he? He'd be great on The Masked Singer. And also... even Taskmaster, I feel like he'd be very ingenious.
He would be ingenious.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, and again, I don't want to trivialise what he's been through, but he's got a couple of kids now. He's got his wife, Stella. I reckon he's, young kids are pretty demanding. I don't think he knows what he's in for.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
As someone with a 2-year-old and 6-year-old, I love them dearly, but I've just come back to see them after a week away.
Yeah.
And you forget what it's like. Julian, you are in for it,
He's
mate.
going to say, actually, can I get that Gitmo treatment? Our gears from Road. We're part of the Iconoclast Network.
Sorry, Julian, don't hack into our computers. Welcome home.
Fuck, yeah. He's got the power to hack. I take it back. I take it all back.
Give him a column in the shot.
Maybe he should become a plumber because he's got a great brand for that.
Oh, gee, God.
Yeah.
Biggest news story in the world. Charles comes up with a plumbing. How have there been 900 episodes of this shit? Oh, God. Delete them all.